Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Kis Uni video series. I'm your host, Farid, and today we have a very special guest with us today, Mahila, who is the co-founder of a startup Mentree, which is aimed at promoting and spreading awareness about mental health in Pakistan. Hello, Mahila. We're so happy to have you on board for today's episode.
Much, Farid. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let's start. First of all, we're going to start from the very beginning, and that is your high school life. So, did you do OA levels or did you do inter? And so, how was that time period of your life?
I did do OA levels. I was very unsure whether to do OA levels or whether to go for matric. But my mother was an educationist, and she was actually my biology teacher as well. And she used to teach OA and A levels, so that's where I went. Um, my experience was it was very diverse because when I started out my school for O levels, I was a very I was a very I wasn't exactly introverted. I had a lot of friends, but I was very I didn't know who I was. I was very naive. I didn't know how the world worked, and I was someone who was very like I had no idea kya cheez bolni hai, kya nahi bolna. I would say a lot of things that I would end up regretting later. I was very excitable, very outgoing, and everything. I had a really hard time organizing my study schedule. I would cram things and all of that. I loved bunking classes. So that's how my O levels started. And then I remember that during the last year of my O levels, my mom, she wasn't very happy with my results. So what she did was she shifted my branch. So that was like a big stumbling block for me because I kind of like lost all my friends. And then I had a really hard time just making new ones in the new branch. It was during this time that मुझे पहले पता चला था कि यार अच्छा ये इस तरह के मसले होते हैं when you go into a new place, and now I have to do the whole process again and everything. I wasn't someone who was very fashionable. I was a little kid with like a with like a mustache, and like I had like a unibrow and everything. So I would try and like make friends with people, and everybody there was like really like on trend and everything. So like कोई इतनी lift shift नहीं कराता था. So when my A levels started, I shifted my A levels branch and I went to a new place. I started taking interest in a lot of extracurriculars, which was really great because it helped me understand that I was not meant for the science stream. All my life, I thought I would, you know, grow up to be like a scientist or something to do with science or physics or you know. But then I realized that I absolutely loved ideas, and I had a wild imagination my whole life. Like I would doze off in class, just daydreaming about different scenarios and everything. My copies would have doodles all over them and everything. So I started to realize that maybe taking a business class wouldn't be such a bad idea. So that's what I looked into. One other thing that I had that was like a huge lesson for me was that since I graduated from my O levels with like I had 9 A's and I had 3 distinctions, so I got very, very over ambitious. So, when it came to A levels, I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, I'm gonna just do the most I can because I think I'll be able to do that. And I started being someone who was constantly just, pressurizing herself to achieve more, right? So instead of taking 3 subjects or 5 subjects, I ended up taking 8. And that was the worst decision ever. I didn't realize that O levels is a 4-year journey and AS
Yeah.
is just like 1 year. And so at the end of the day, when the results came, my report card was it was a rainbow because it had A, B, C, C, D, D, E, U, and I was mortified. I was like, oh my god, if I cannot achieve, if I don't make these grades, who am I? Like I had like मुझे ना एक identity crisis होना शुरू हुआ था शदीद किस्म का. I was like, मैं कौन हूँ? Who am I? Who is Mahila? What's going on? Like this is not me. So what I realized was I needed to cut my losses,
Yeah.
and I did my A2 with just 3 subjects. मैं फिर like कहते ना इंसान का बच्चा बन गए. So that's what happened. And I graduated. I knew that I wanted to apply for other things. And funnily enough, I couldn't ever imagine myself being interested in the arts, being interested in business. When I was young, like O levels ke aaspas ki baat hai, I had a D in my arts because I would suck at it. I would suck at making drawings and then doing the shading. I would get bored of it. So my shading would be horrible. But I ended up applying abroad. For I wanted to apply for film, I wanted to apply for art, I wanted to apply for cool sounding degrees like leadership and everything. Um, but yeah, I ended up going towards a business stream, and I feel like a lot of credit for that is because I had the opportunity to experiment during my levels,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad I didn't stick with the same old biochemistry physics format because it really paid off.
Yeah, and I think you handle the whole navigation aspect, which is actually really crucial at the OA level stage to actually figure out what you want to do. Because nowadays kids are all like it's either, sciences or it's either business. But then with your eight subjects, I think you got to experiment, which is something really I think very few people do. And I think if at the end of the day, I would say it was a decision for the better because like I think you're having fun doing what you do, and at the end of the day, that's the most important part.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I'm very, very grateful that I got to experiment. But looking back now, I am very grateful. But while I was in that situation now, it
Yeah,
wasn't as it
yeah,
was not nice. Um, so coming to the serious thodi si side of things, I actually got my anxiety diagnosis in my O levels
oh,
during the last year of my O levels because I was having anxiety attacks in school. I got very scared of what would happen if I didn't get good grades. And I feel like even in my A levels, there was sort of this pressure to perform that I didn't know what to do about. Because during my O and A levels, even though in my A levels I took psychology as a subject, I still didn't know how to put those things into, form in my practical life. Like I would study about people having symptoms for mental health issues and everything, but I never ever thought that what I have is something that I can put a name to. Like I had no idea कि भाई मुझे जो हो रहा है जो मुझे सांस चढ़ता है पेपर से पहले. And actually, it got so bad that I had to have a medical certificate during my final exams for my O levels, and then the council that takes care of everything, they had to allot me another room because I was so anxious that they were
yeah,
like, okay, beta, calm down, like don't like fret over things and everything. And they were the best thing was that they were very accommodating,
yeah,
and that's actually a big reason why now I'm able to look back and be like, yeah, you know what, hey, I experimented and it turned out safe. I feel like agar us time pe I didn't have people around me, specifically adults around me, who were very accommodating and they were open to understanding that I was someone who was growing up and I was trying to understand life and I was having to face choices. Abhi, I'm in university. I'm almost done with my masters. अब हम लोग एक दूसरे से ओ लेवल्स ए लेवल्स की ग्रेड्स पूछ पूछ के ना वी लाफ अबाउट इट बट ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम दैट वाज लाइक लाइफ एंड डेथ टू
yeah.
लाइक
That
आई
was
वाज श्योर कि मेरा कुछ बनना नहीं है because I am not going to get into a good university and I'm not going to get a good job, and I'm going to starve. I'm going to be on the streets.
yeah. I
And
think
now
this
that I
must
look
run
back,
through every OA level kid.
yeah,
That's how we are
I mean,
taught by the education system that what you're doing right now, this will decide your future. And that's it. There's a full stop right there.
and Farid by our parents,
Yeah,
and by the extended family. Like literally, matlab, yaar, I feel like, if now that I'm talking about it, I recall that I used to start dreading when our family would get together. Because then I would feel like all the adults would gather around and be like, oh, what are you doing? I heard you're not studying properly. Why aren't you studying properly? Kyamat aa jayegi if you're not studying properly. What are you doing? And it would just eat away at you.
yeah. It
And
happens to the
now I
best
feel
of
like
us, even those who study.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so unfair. Like, do not do that to children. Do not do that to yourself if you're in O levels or A levels. This is a part of your life. Yes, it's a big bonus if you score big. I'm not
Yeah.
saying people should start flunky classes and failing, but if you're making it to like B, ठीक है, you're good, man. You're
Yeah.
good. You're
And
honestly
even if you're like giving it your best, like that's all that matters. You know that you're gonna work
absolutely.
harder to get something better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like there's this thing, it's a psychological thing for, you know, literally every human out there. Um we really revel in like our losses. मतलब अगर
Yeah.
test fail हो गया या mock exam fail कर दिया, so we're like, oh no, you know what, I'm such a loser, I suck, and I'm gonna punish myself by sitting and studying for 5 hours and everything. But when we do achieve, we go like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I did this. It's
Yeah.
good, it's cool, it's
It's
cool. Yeah,
manageable.
we don't exactly, you know, ruminate about it the same way, which is so unfair. Like, why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah. So moving forward, so how did university treat you and how's LUMS treating you?
So my first university for my bachelor's was NUST, the one in Islamabad, H12 campus. Um, so I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but I'm gonna try. The high school that I came from, I was in Roots, right? So I was in Roots for O
Yeah.
levels and A levels, and we were used to a certain kind of culture, a certain kind of
Yeah.
atmosphere. We were used to having this space to express ourselves, to take initiative, and like मतलब ये होता था कि literally आपको रात को कोई idea आया and आप सुबह so the director of the campus was always there, so आप जाए उनके कमरे में घुस जाए and be like, no, what, I want to do this, give me the resources, I want to do this, I will make this an event and I will make sure it's amazing. And she'd be like, okay, cool, do it. So you were used to having that sort of mindset, you
Yeah.
know, बहुत कम red tape, बहुत कम barriers from
Yeah.
stopping you
I
what you
think there's
want
a
and
lot of
everything.
freedom.
And you know what? With freedom, you know what? You get habitual.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid who's grown up in that environment, you think that the whole world is going to be like this.
It
And
isn't.
then when it's not, तो फिर आपको इंतहा का culture shock लगता है, and I feel like that's what happened to me when I went to NAST. At first, I didn't want to be there at all. I was a straight A distinctions. I got a scholarship from this university in Indiana. I didn't go. I was that sort of a student. But when I went to NUST, I had such a bad culture shock. I didn't know मैं कहाँ गई हूँ. At that point in time, I didn't know कि आपको adaptable होना चाहिए. आपको हो सकता है ऐसा. There was nobody to guide me कि यार ऐसा हो जाता है. It's okay and everything, you know. That I ended up getting relegated my first year. I was like, I don't want to be here. And then when I would come home and I would rant about it with my parents, they'd be like, oh no, we paid good money, you're gonna go here. And I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna study. And so I thought, you know what, if they're not gonna, you know, let me switch universities, I'm gonna make sure I fail, so that at the end of the day, they do have to take me to another university to give my admission. So I was like, okay, cool, I have a plan, fit, this is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fail. So I like failed all my classes the first semester, failed all my classes the second semester. I had a GPA of 1.3 the first semester and then 1.2 the second semester. And
But you
when
didn't
that
switch
happened,
universities.
yeah,
But you didn't switch universities. What happened?
yeah. So I, you know, the day I got my relegation letter, I wrapped it up in an envelope. I went to my dad and he took it out and he started laughing. And I was like, now you have to take me to another university, like take me to Barrier, let me apply to them. Like, you know, you have to. And since he was my dad, he knew how to pull my strings. So he said, oh, so you're telling me that you're gonna quit? You've given up? And then I was like, oh no, what am I doing? Am I quitting? So there was this whole thing, which was that I have to prove myself to the world. I have to prove
Yeah.
myself to my parents. बस इनको मैंने करके दिखाना है. अब करके क्यों दिखाना है ये मुझे नहीं समझ आता था. I was like,
अपने आप
wait,
को नहीं करके दिखाना.
yeah, अपने आप को नहीं करके दिखाना था. Like I like not even once did I think what does Myla want. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, you're gonna think I'm a quitter. On the next eat dinner, people are gonna call me Mahila the quitter. How can I let that happen, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just go back. I'll just go back and do the whole year again. It's okay, no biggie. It's okay, it's cool. I'll go back. So I went back. I spent my 3 years in Nast. And the overachieving wala attitude and biting off more than I could chew wala attitude got so enhanced in my third year of university that my pure din ka schedule would look like this. I would wake up at 7. I would go to university. I would in university, I would work. I would work on my clubs. I would work on my first startup, which was Dreamcatcher. We were working on child sexual abuse awareness education. Then I would work with the societies. Clubs or societies alag alag hote the. Then I would come back. It would take me 2 hours to come back since I would go on a van, right? उधर से आते हुए I would come back, have a snack or something. I would go to my gym for my training. I would spend 2 hours on training, then I would come back. I would have my religious teacher come in for Islamic education. When he would go back, I would do my university homework. I would do my assignments. Then I would do my society and club homework. Then I would work on my startup. I would sleep around 2 a.m. And during that whole time from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. darmiyan mein, I would keep waking up because of my anxiety. And I would keep like, I had this intense fear at that time that I am gonna turn 80 in the blink of an eye and I'm gonna realize I've achieved nothing in my life. And the worst part is that during the time when I could have been motivated by wonder, by awe, by curiosity, by imagination, I was motivated by fear. Like fear was driving me to do these things. And that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're just running to achieve things and you can't stop. And the moment you
Yeah.
stop, someone's gonna overtake you, right? And you know, the worst part was that during that time, my whole family thought that bhai ye bachchi to bhai hira nikal aayi hai. Yeah? Like nobody came to me and said, "Are you okay? Like you're obviously running from something. Are you
Yeah.
okay?" And that was the year when I had a nervous breakdown. Like I just collapsed, right? And nobody knew why. Nobody could understand why. Like my parents was like, "Hey, nazar lag gayi hai, bachchi ko nazar lag gayi hai, bas ye kisi ne nazar laga di hai, bas ye to kuch aur nahi hua." During that time is also when I had like my first set of therapy sessions, and I realized that I actually was exhibiting symptoms of depression. And I had high functioning depression, which is basically what happens when you have depression, but it only affects you in a way that it still lets you achieve, it still lets you function, it still lets you be productive on the very good days, but then it also affects your physical body, which is why I had the breakdown. And after that, I got really, really sick. Like I got very sick. I got diagnosed with this syndrome that had 11 conditions. It's called Myalgic Encephalitis. Not a lot of people know about it. It's basically caused by a lot of trauma. And I realized that all this time I'd been really punishing myself. I'd been punishing my body and everything. And I had to take a semester off. I didn't graduate with my class. In that year, I had to do a lot of learning and relearning. And it was very frustrating because even like the most mundane tasks that you see or you know about, such as brushing your teeth, going outside your house for a stroll, they wouldn't come to me easy, right? And that was like it was like a very very hard place to be in. Like even talking about it now, it's very it's
Yeah.
very serious, very dark. But the good thing was that my brain didn't stop working. So even when I would be like lying down in bed all day or kuch bhi, I would always be trying to look for internships. I would go to internships that would accommodate me. I would try and understand what is it that I'm doing that I can do more of. During this time, a lot of the friends that I had around me, they were either applying to other universities for their masters or they were applying for jobs. So it was very frustrating for me that because my body cannot comply, I cannot do these things. So I started focusing on doing things that I could do. And one of the things that I could do now, I realized, was that I have always had a huge network of people, right? And I feel like I'm someone who I don't have a lot of skills, but one skill that I have is basically understanding how two people can benefit each other and
Yeah.
connecting them for the greater good, right? So what I did was I was like, okay, let's start an agency that does that. And since I'm doing this, let's not do it for free. So I started a PR agency for women-led small businesses in Islamabad, mostly women. That some of them were also led by men. And that's what I did for a year and a half until I got sick again. Then I would do something else, and I would get sick again. I would try to keep the agency running. It didn't really happen. And then I realized that maybe the reason why I have not been able to, bloom in conditions that I've been given is because maybe those conditions aren't right for me. So I started looking up courses outside of my city. And I came across Lum's K short courses. And to my delight, I found an event planning and PR course here. And I was like, let's go do this. Let's see what happens. And to my surprise, when I came here, I was accommodated so well with my
Yeah.
condition and everything. And it was so engaging. It was so amazing that after my 6-week course was over, I called my mom and I was like, I don't want to come back. Like there is something for me here.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't want to come back. And मजे की बात है कि that was the time when LUMS की जो admin थी ना, they started putting up these posters all around the campus. And on those posters, they introduced a new degree. And when I looked at that degree, I was like, Mama, this is why I'm here. I'm going to do this. I'm applying. It was a master's in technology management and entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Like, even when I couldn't do anything, I was thinking about how to solve this, how to solve that, whatever. And I never really fit anywhere. And for the first time, I felt like, you know what? Okay, this is the universe is
Yeah.
calling for me. I'm applying, bro. I'm applying. मुझे नहीं पता how I'm gonna pay for this, but I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna apply. So I applied for that, and then COVID happened. And
Was it online or like did you again have to?
okay, so since COVID happened, it was all online. I took the most out of it. It was online. बहुत ज़्यादा ऊपर नीचे थी कुछ चीज़ें. I ran into a few issues वगैरह जो भी. But it was online, and it was really engaging. It was really good. I was really happy with what I was doing. I felt like I finally fit in. I felt like people were there not to judge me on like how much I've achieved. हालांकि लम्स का culture बहुत achievement focused है,
Yeah.
but thankfully I found peers and friends who appreciated the wacky mind I have.
And I think that also
We
comes with maturity. Like when you're an OA levels kid, or you're like in the start of your university, you have that you need to be on a level playing field with everyone or either ahead. You can't like fall back. And it's only with time that you realize, okay, other people may be doing that, but I'm going to stay in my own lane and I'm going to achieve the most I can with what I want to do and with what I like. And I think that's a big misconception among students. Okay, we need to do public speaking, we need to do debates, we need to do science competitions, we need to do arts. Like they just do everything, and at the end of the day, it's a burnout.
absolutely that word burnout. I feel like no child like in my time, no child in O and A levels would have even thought of the word burnout. Like कोई सोच ही सकता था. हमें लगता था हम बस मशीनें हैं, and the reason we're not achieving well is because हम lazy हो गए हैं या हम
Yeah.
माँ बाप की बात नहीं सुनते. Even if like now when I think back, na Farid, there were people around me in high school in OA levels, even in my university for bachelors, and even now, जिनको देख के I now understand that they were going through something.
Yeah.
People who used to prefer not to do their homework, who used to be get called out by the teacher, जिनको punishment मिलती थी और उनके माँ बाप को बुला लिया जाता था या वो classes bunk करते थे. When you go back and think about it, they had specific reasons.
Yeah.
They did, right? And it's just like really, it's very uneasy thinking about how like no adult ever like saw that.
But yeah, because that's how the system has been working, unfortunately. Yeah, so then how was your whole online experience with Lams then?
You're gonna get me in trouble, man. with the kind of questions you're asking.
You don't
I
need to
haven't
answer
graduated.
anything you don't want to, though.
No, it's fine. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So the experience was nice. For someone like me who was so desperate for like something that would make my brain happy, I
Yeah.
was very thankful. Obviously, there is a lot that could have been done better. There was a lot of like mismanagement of schedules. There was a lot of like there are obviously Hamesha, even in a very good place, you have some personalities who maybe because of past events or things that they've seen, they probably think that once a student who are not very like open to the idea of students asking for disability accommodations, right?
Yeah.
So what I have is considered a disability globally, right? So I was up for asking for accommodations and everything, but a lot of people they do accommodate you. लेकिन एक दो लोग इस तरह के होते हैं जो कहते हैं कि अच्छा आप ये फायदा उठाने के लिए करें and everything. So that was a little sad. But other than that, it was very hands-on. The degree was amazing. We had very cool courses. We had basic courses in the first semester, and then in the second semester, we had courses that were to do with technology. And these courses were amazingly hands-on. I actually realized uske andar, because of the practicality of those courses, I realized what type of people I work best with. I realized the kind of skills I have and how can I, turn those skills from someone who was used to making things happen and like trying to understand कि उसको revenue model बस मैं इस तरह करूँगी उस तरह करूँगी. For the first time I was like अच्छा यार एक structured approach है that I can take and everything.
Yeah.
And then we got really amazing teachers. Most of them were really good. We had Dr. Shayar Shahid, we had Sir Jamil Gohir. Both of them were amazing teachers. And even though I was very iffy about whether my health would ever allow me to have anything of my own dobara se, after taking classes with them and after the feedback that they gave me, how they helped us do assignments and everything, it really started feeling like I could. And then in the we were introduced to data in our summer course, and then uske baad hamara thesis ka jo portion hai wo aa jata hai. So right now what I'm currently doing is I am still working on the startup that I started with my classmates, and my thesis is also on the startup's research. So basically the research that we've done for the feasibility of the startup, that makes up my thesis, and the startup is apart from that.
And now I'm pretty sure everyone now understands your vision behind Mentree, but now let's sort of like go into, the challenges you faced setting up and running such an organization and, being a team leader in this aspect, because it isn't easy to sort of adapt and, to sort of delegate work and, to have that thing running. So, what do you think were some of the challenges you faced and would advise people with startups to, take into account?
So I'm smiling right now because this is a challenge that keeps coming up for me, and it's a little hard to get rid of old habits. But one challenge and one old habit that I'm working very very hard on getting rid of is my tendency to try to do everything all at once by myself. Like maybe kar lungi, main wo bhi kar lungi. It's a learned pattern, and I'm trying to relearn it. But it takes time. So the biggest challenge I've had is understanding ki yaar, what, if I have this huge project to do, I don't need to take care of everything. I can actually delegate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, trusting people will have ownership of the idea, like I have ownership of the idea, is a huge deal. So I'm trying to be okay. I'm trying to deep breathe my way into delegating stuff and like trying to stay calm about it and everything. One other challenge that I've had is to understand how denim, it's a very simple thing, but when you actually start doing it, you realize how nuanced it is. It has these small edges you wouldn't think of. So, when I was studying my bachelor's and we were studying management, they would tell us that you have to manage different people in a different way, right?
Yeah.
And you think, oh, sure, yeah, this is the recipe, I'm gonna ace it. मतलब कितना मुश्किल हो जाएगा किसी को manage करना. But when you talk to people and you realize कि आप एक चीज एक तरह से कह रहे होते हैं और कोई और किसी और तरह समझ लेता है,
Yeah.
so you need to be so careful. For someone like me who's like naturally a blabbermouth, you know, it becomes very like this is a skill I'm learning. Like I feel like this should be on my LinkedIn, that I'm working hard and making sure I don't say stuff that people will take the other way.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. And the other challenge is being understanding, okay, this is not my biggest learning so far. Understanding that it's actually not motivation that makes you do work, it's discipline.
Yeah.
And when we think of discipline, we think of harsh rules, bitter rules, or a routine, mundane, boring. Discipline doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that. Discipline can be very loving. It can be something very soft, very nice, and it can be something that helps you grow. My whole life I've been throwing away ideas or throwing away routines or throwing away habits just because I would lose the motivation, because I would get bored. But
Yeah.
with the project that I'm on right now, Mentree, I feel like it's so important to me that even on days when I feel like, yeah, I'm not gonna get up because I'm so tired, because by the way, I still have the habit of waking up during my sleep to check ke log kya kar rahe hain, LinkedIn pe kya ho raha hai, what is my competition doing, where am I lagging behind. So I'm still relearning these things. It's a whole journey, right?
Yeah.
And my biggest hurdle has been, and my biggest, I feel like it's also like an achievement, has been understanding that even on days when you don't feel like doing the whole thing, just try and do the first 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Just do those 5 minutes of it. After that 5 minutes, there's a lot of chances you would feel like doing the whole thing. And even if you don't, the main learning is be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
See, because there is something that actually my therapist said to me, and I think it's very, very important. Um, think that, think of yourself as a child. Okay, always think of yourself as a child, and think of yourself in a really difficult class, right? And if you as that child are not able to, let's say maths, because I used to hate math, by the way. Okay, so I'm going to choose math. So for me, she said, imagine that you're in a math class and you cannot do your addition and subtractions. Okay, would you do well if your teacher was standing near you, shouting at the top of your head, telling you what a loser you are because you're not able to understand something so simple? Or would you do better with a teacher who was calm? She was soft. She would encourage you. She would say, it's okay, let's just do one sum. If you can't do one sum, let's go take a walk, come back, and let's try again.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying you would do well when there's someone being nice to you. So why
Yeah.
aren't we nice to us? Why are we so harsh? You know?
Yeah, and I think that's a really valid point, especially when it links up to the first one, that it's not motivation that drives you, it's discipline. Because with motivation, sort of links to your first point. When you're motivated, you're like, I can do everything. You say you can multitask, but again, it starts to become the opposite of what actually benefits you. Yeah. So, where do you see this project within the next few years? Like, regarding the stigmas in our society, and how like it's a slowly growing ideology. It is growing, but very slowly. So what do you hope the startup achieves?
I genuinely hope that, you know, and this is on like a very personal level. Um, I really hope that, in a few years' time, we do itna ke going to therapy, or going to even like, an institution for mental health becomes so run of the mill and so routine that when
Yeah.
people talk about it, they talk about it like they talk about getting a haircut or
Yeah.
going for a manicure. Okay, I really hope, and I really think we can do this. I'm sure we can do this, inshallah. That people stop with the or the why you look perfectly fine, or you're too young to have depression, or क्यों anxiety होगी, and like it's okay. Just stop being anxious. Just stop with these statements. Just stop with this.
Yeah.
We need more inclusivity in society. We need to celebrate the diversity that's there. And most of
Yeah.
all, we need to celebrate the diversity that's within ourselves, you know. We're not all the same. We're not all the same. We're very, very diverse, right?
Yeah.
And so people who are not neurotypical, they're neurodivergent, you know, they should be able to celebrate
Yeah.
themselves. So that's basically my vision.
Okay. And any last words? Or should we finish?
So they would be, please keep hope alive.
Yeah.
It might feel like it's the end of the world, but trust me, it's not. It's not.
Most
I mean,
importantly, keep
even the
yourself alive.
yes, please keep yourself alive. Please do not unalive yourselves, guys. Please
Yeah.
do not. You know, the world has ended so many times. I say जा गई थी, सब कुछ खत्म हो गया था, फिर से सब कुछ ठीक हो गया. So even if it is end of the world, trust me, चीजें ठीक हो जाएंगी. Trust me, and please be kind to yourselves.
Yeah.
You can achieve so much more if you're just kind
Yeah.
to yourself. That's it. Yeah, I guess that those would be my words for, you know, before we end this.
Well, so with that, we've reached the end of this episode. If you have any questions regarding career counseling or university counseling, please feel free to reach out to us to our Instagram page or visit our website, kisuni.org. Thank you so much, Myla, for taking our time and coming and joining us on this episode. It really, really means a lot.
So much. I loved being here. Thank you so much for your amazing questions. They really made me think.
Okay, thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.